What's the largest selling news weekly in America? It isn't Newsweek. It isn't even Time anymore. In first place is the self-proclaimed news weekly, the National Enquirer, the one you can buy for 30 cents at the checkout counter of your supermarket. Now, Time and Newsweek, of course, would take issue at being put in the same bag with the Enquirer. They'd say the Enquirer doesn't really deal in news, and they'd be right. Okay, says the National Enquirer, just call us a magazine. We sell more copies per month than People, Penthouse, and Playboy put together. The fact is that by any standard, the National Enquirer is a publishing phenomenon. It sells almost 4.5 million copies every week with a bizarre brew of fact, rumor, allegation, and discovery. Where is this brew concocted? Lantana, Florida, population 7,126 according to the last census. An undistinguished South Florida town on US 1, about 10 miles south of Palm Beach, Florida. An unlikely place, you'd think, to be the home of one of America's most successful publishing enterprises. And yet Lantana, Florida is the home of the National Enquirer. Behind that sign lie the 7 campus-like plush acres that are the pride and joy of the sole proprietor of the Enquirer, Generoso Pope Jr., a transplanted New Yorker, godfather of this magazine, journal, newspaper. We're standing in front of the time capsule. It says here the National Enquirer newspaper on February 28, 1974, that's just about a year ago. Buried here, a sealed capsule containing good news items of 1973. In other words, you want to forget about Watergate and remember the good news, is that it?
Yeah, I would say so, yes. In other words, our philosophy, I guess you'd call it, is basically that in all the other media, the people are getting all the bad news today. They're getting swamped with it, inundated with it. And I think they've just about had it. I think they're searching for something that's going to tell them there's a good side to life. Everything isn't bad.
Well, the formula works. As we said, more than 4 million copies a week roll off his presses and into supermarkets coast to coast, displayed at checkout counters rack after rack. Paper's demographic surveys show the typical Enquirer reader is female, between 25 and 49, with a family income under $10,000. The men and women in the Enquirer's city room in Lantana do a good deal better than that. A reporter starts here at $22,000, an editor at $30,000, and top executives make well over $100,000. Just about the best salaries in the newspaper business. Gene Pope can afford it. He owns 100% of the Enquirer stock, and the paper will gross $50 million this year. How much profit? He won't say. Almost all the money comes from those checkout counter sales. The paper carries little advertising. You pay Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis if she were to write an exclusive series for the National.
She could name her own price.
Have you not approached her?
Sure.
And offered her?
I don't know if we did it directly. We have offered. I don't know how much, Mike.
I've heard $500,000.
It could be.
And then I heard $1 million.
It's possible, but I don't know if that actually got to her. I know we were talking about it.
But you would offer her?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
48-year-old, mild-mannered Gene Pope, an MIT graduate, a CIA alumnus, seems an unlikely figure to head the flamboyant Enquirer. But he rules it like the Godfather. 1 hour each day, his minions sit across the desk from him in the city room while he checks them out. Nothing gets in the paper without his personal approval. And his wrath, when roused, is said to turn him mean and petty. His employees call him an unpredictable tyrant who can fire as quickly as he hires. Pope affably waves off the charges. We asked him about another tale we heard. You knew Frank Costello?
Yes.
Joseph Profaci, the Godfather. Albert Anastasia, right?
Yes.
And you know as well as I do that there are allegations that mafia money has been behind the Enquirer since the beginning.
Right. I've read that, heard it.
Answer?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious to anyone that understands or reads or knows anything about this organization, whatever it is, that if there were, there still would be.
Because?
Because they never let go once they get their hooks into you. And that obviously has not happened.
The plain fact is no one has ever been able to prove a mafia-Enquirer connection. Are you still sensitive about the fact that for years the National Enquirer had a raunchy reputation?
Well, not anymore, but I used to be. When I first took over the Enquirer, which is 23 years ago now, I was looking for something that would give us some instant circulation. And really, I used to marvel at automobile accidents, and I'd see the public crowd around, and for some reason have a morbid fascination in what's going on. I personally would turn my head. I couldn't stand it. But I knew they were attracted to that.
The public was fascinated by gore.
Right.
And so you decided...
So we gave it to them.
Huh?
We gave it to them in spades.
And give it to them he did. Headlines like these pushed the Enquirer's circulation to 1 million by 1968. But there it stalled, so Gene Pope came up with a new idea. Out went gore. In came headlines like these. Gossip. Psychic phenomena. Alleged medical breakthroughs. Hope. Good news.